Hey, it's Chris Bowling.
It's Chris Beyer.
Mr. Byer, we have a special guest, Mr. Dwight Ford, Executive Director at Project Now in Rock Island, Illinois. Dwight, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for the kind invitation. Glad to be with you.
It's great to have you here. And Dwight, I know Project Now does a lot of significant work within the community, but let's start a little bit with your background of who you are and what you do as Executive Director, and maybe what brought you to Project Now in the past.
Well, thank you. Well, I am a individual that is kind of multidisciplinary in my development. So
Yes.
I am third generation combat veteran, United States Marine Corps. I learned everything I needed to understand about the world in leadership through that wonderful commitment.
Wow.
And my time serving there. But I'm also an ordained clergy of 25 years. And so
Wow.
my commitment has been to think about public theology and how the faith itself can be broadened to serve populations in a non-discriminatory manner, and everything that has to do with being considerate and kind to others who are severely disadvantaged and marginalized and oppressed in the world. I'm an individual that is completing doctoral studies in strategic leadership at Northwestern there. I'm an individual that has had a career in community action now
Yes.
for going on 10 years, getting close to 10 years.
Wow. Well, number one, thank you for your service to this country.
Yes, I was going to say that as well.
That is number one.
And
We enjoy all of our freedoms because of fine folks like yourself that are here to protect us. So thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And my goodness, your background, Project Now, should be extremely grateful for all the diversity and your extensive education. I did not realize that all of those things that you had done. So I apologize that I never asked that in the 3 years that we've known each other. That's amazing.
No apologies needed. I think the journey allows us to get a chance to learn more about each other as we go.
Absolutely.
yes, for sure. Well, I admire your background, like you said, just being, in that opportunity to help people who need it, and people from all different backgrounds that are struggling through some sort of financial insecurity, as you mentioned. So you touched a little bit on what you do with Project Now, but let's talk about that. Who's Project Now, and really what makes your organization unique as you're serving the community?
Well, Project Now is a community action agency, and that's our formal title. They show up in many different ways and forms throughout the
Yes.
United States. We are one of 1,100 in the nation, contiguous United States and U.S. territories. Every county in the United States is covered by one of our sister organizations. I have 3.3% of the state of Illinois. We serve 3 counties. And so we approach this idea of really understanding what the community needs. Once you've seen one community action agency, that's all you really have seen, because we are able to morph into the needs contextually. And so there's not a particular layout by design that is uniformed across. Now, the standard will be the same. And so our agency rolled out of the Office of Economic Opportunity that was created by the Equal Opportunity Act in 1964, and a bundle pieces of legislation that we refer to that helped us to understand the war on poverty under the Johnson administration.
Right.
And our first director, of course, was Sergeant Shriver. And so we've been at it since 64 as a national commitment, and we started here in 1968. This is our 55th year of offering transportation, senior services, Head Start, LIHEAP, weatherization, roof repair, home repair. I mean, there's a run of the gamut to what we can do, and I'm very proud of what we have done. We do a lot. We don't do everything because our agency is required to bring people together. And so think of us not as social services, think of us as more of an organizing body that brings people together to solve the heaviest and the hardest challenges of poverty that we can never solve separate and independent from each other.
That's a great
Thank you. Wonderful summary. And, just like you said, based on the 3 counties you serve, you're going to be totally different than another community action agency across the country. That makes so much sense that you're able to probably laser focus in on what that need is for those specific communities that you serve and adjust the services that are needed as that comes through. So how are you receiving funding, Dwight, when you look at, you know, the ability to provide services as a nonprofit organization? How are you funded, and really how can people support your mission as an organization at Project Now?
Great question. We actually are funded in a number of different ways. We have massive state contracts. We provide transportation. We have Department of Transportation as a partner. We have Health and Human Services, IDA. So a lot of government contracts. However, we do a lot of local philanthropic commitments, and of course, working with foundations and banking institutions. And everyday people write checks as well. And so that's how we are funded. We ask that people, first of all, try to get a chance to know of us. Most people come to us for a particular vein of interest. So if you're interested in justice work, we have a whole commitment set aside for people returning from prison and incarceration that you may be interested. If you're interested in early childhood education, you may start there. If you're interested in seniors work, you may start there. Book clubs, we have gathering, lecture series, presentations, and then of course you can volunteer. Volunteering always gets you one more step out there. You learn a little bit more, you build relationships and friendships. And then of course, financial funding, if that's your prerogative to be able to support in that way, we welcome it at any level. And this gives us a chance to not only go along the journey together, but we get a chance to grow together as well.
Love it.
No, that's really well said. And I know we didn't talk about this before we started recording, but how do you evaluate what the most current needs are? I have to imagine that things have shifted significantly in the last 3 to 4 years as we went through the pandemic, still coming out of that. But how quick are you able to pivot when you see a new need exist or something that isn't necessarily serving the community well?
So we are required, and even if we weren't required by legislation and commitments through the funding streams, we have to do a community needs assessment every 2 years, and then we drop one every year to scan what's happening in the community. That means focus groups, interviews. We talk to everybody and anybody, our partners, any stakeholder out there. And then we roll that up into a strategic plan that gives us strategic direction. And then every year we have a year action plan that we hold ourselves accountable for. We submit all the data and we work our plan. And if in a case like something that happens like a building collapse, unfortunately, in a sister city at 324 Main across the river, we added that in there. We had to figure out how to be in support of those disadvantaged with housing insecurity at that moment. Same thing with a flood or any other national disaster. We can move very quickly when these things happen.
That would not have dawned on me that you could go across state lines and figure out how many of those people, you know, need to move over, you know, to the Illinois side. It never even dawned on me that you guys would actually be involved in that, you know, massive project of how do we help 80 people relocate. And then
so it moved very quickly for us. We made phone calls and we had to work with partners. So through the partnership, everyone that was in that building, we immediately took care of all of their utility bills. They didn't have to submit a piece of paperwork or anything. And then we had a 30-foot truck. We started collecting furniture for them. And even if they wanted to stay on the Iowa side, we could deliver their furniture to their home. So we moved very quickly.
That's impressive.
That's wonderful. Well, I appreciate you sharing a little bit more about Project Now. And I mean, just that most recent event of being able to pivot quickly and help those in need. I know as we're getting close to time, Chris, I know you've got a favorite question to ask Dwight as we finish up. This has been a great conversation.
So Dwight, you've had either a rough day, a long day, or it's just a normal day, but is there a motto, is there a quote that really helps you get through those tough times?
Absolutely. Our endeavor is to root out poverty and plant seeds of opportunity. I don't have to wait till the end of the year to see some aggregated data to tell me that I did something important. Every day that we're going out, we're planting seeds of opportunity. This is farmland, even though this is an urban context and where I sit now, but I have 2 other counties that are really rural. Anytime a farmer throws seeds out in the ground or toward the ground, that farmer has a full expectation that something will grow. We operate with a sincere sensibility of hope, which is nothing more than expectation. We're not just here to serve people in poverty. Our full expectation is that through this work, we can move people up and out. And that's what keeps us moving every day.
I love it. Thank you for sharing.
Well, appreciate Dwight having you as a guest in focus. Thanks so much for sharing today.
Likewise, thank you for the time.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.